black screen fades into an aerial view of Vedauwoo. The camera glides slowly over massive granite fins surrounded by pine trees as logos appear. Marshall Cody Productions. Paradox Sports. A purple, yellow, and black striped climbing rope is piled at the base of a climb. One strand snakes out of frame slowly as an unseen climber works their way up the wall. The camera slowly pans up a nearly perfect parallel crack, following the rope as it runs through a green cam and up and out of the frame. He's climbing a steep hand crack with rounded edges and places a yellow cam overhead for protection, adjusting it a few times. Inspecting the carabiner, he realizes it's upside down and flips it before pulling the rope up to clip in. As he attempts to clip in, the carabiner pops out of his hand and flips upside down once more. With the left hand in the crack, he holds the rope in his right and fights to turn the carabiner right side up. After a few tense moments, he makes the clip.
Deep breathing.
A black screen with white text. In 2014, Trevor suffered a total and permanent loss of his vision due to prolonged complications from his eventual diagnosis of ankylosing spondylitis. On August 10, 2023, Trevor successfully ascended his first lead of a traditional climbing route outside of Laramie, Wyoming. This is the story of that journey. Trevor smiles in front of pine trees wearing mirrored sunglasses and a climbing helmet. He secures the wrist strap on one of his gloves. A bundle of various cams dangle and twist in front of a rock wall. The title screen appears. Large block letters and subtext read, "Blind Lead, Trevor Hahn's Sightless Ascent." Trevor is working in his shop. The camera focuses on his hands and a metal rod clamped into a large vise. An orange drill stands on the workbench nearby. The camera slowly pans up to show his face as he concentrates on the task. He looks serious and focused. A wiener dog sculpture with a long coil spring body stands on a wood plank. Its feet are made of smaller flattened coils with screws for claws. A used bicycle brake rotor sits in a box. A bird-like sculpture with antique keys for feathers and a beak made from vegetable steamer pieces. Trevor scans a set of wrenches before grabbing the correct size. A set of wooden-handled screwdrivers hang on a pegboard. Several small C-clamps and hacksaws hang from the same pegboard, a small glimpse at some of the many tools of his art. He saws the metal rod in the vise and smiles as a chunk breaks free.
Satisfying.
Trevor sits in front of an orange climbing wall in his garage.
As a person with bad vision growing up, you're always thinking, okay, am I ever going to totally lose sight?
A series of outdoor and nature shots as he speaks.
I grew up mainly in the outdoors. My family got me into everything in the outdoors, camping, hiking, and all kinds of snow sports, skiing, snowboarding.
Now back at his home wall.
I wasn't prepared for losing all of my outdoor opportunities. So when I first lost my sight, I thought it was like the end of all of this stuff. The end of snowboarding, the end of climbing, the end of getting out there, doing the stuff I loved. But what brought me out to say, okay, it's not the end for me to be blind, was actually that first time I went climbing with Paradox, because it was like I said, it was a revelation.
Operations Manager Brittany Delphin.
Paradox Sports is a national nonprofit organization that delivers adaptive rock climbing, ice climbing, and mountaineering programs across the country.
Adaptive athletes climb while Sam Sala speaks.
An adaptive climber is anybody with a disability who also climbs. While we're climbing, some of the typical disabilities we'll see are amputations, limb differences, neurological conditions, spinal cord injuries, kind of a range of visual impairment, blindness, deaf climbers. We really kind of cover the whole spectrum. The first time I met Trevor was at our 2022 Ouray National Ice Climbing trip down in Ouray, Colorado. He's one of those guys that just kind of leaves an impression. He shows up, he's the first on the wall, last off the wall. If there's ever an open rope, he's jumping at the opportunity to go jump on it and give it his all.
Alternating shots of Trevor climbing and speaking from his home wall.
Climbing makes me feel independence and freedom. You can feel the rock face as your hands are your eyes now. So that kind of brought me out and said, hey, you can do these things even though you can't see them. It gave me a sense of something else rather than what we might miss with vision. It kind of actually helped me see in a way that that I never would have experienced otherwise. It just gave me so much drive and just stoked my soul, like my inner flame inside me, to prove kind of to myself and to everyone else that barriers they're just things to get over.
Before cutting to Trevor climbing, white text reads, "What trad climbing is." Sam explains.
Trad climbing is a style of climbing known as traditional climbing, where we are placing our own protection into the rock as we're climbing. There are no preset bolts or anchors on the route. So we have camming devices and chocks that we place into cracks. And ideally, if it's a good placement, when you fall, the cam will kind of compress into the rock and hold the fall for you.
Trevor at home.
What it's going to take is just practicing placement over placement, and just making sure I would be confident with every single piece I put in.
Some of the risks in trad climbing, especially for a VI athlete, is going to be knowing that he's got really good solid pieces in. For a sighted climber, typically you can look at a crack and know what size gear you need to put into it to protect it sufficiently. Trevor doesn't have that option. So what he ends up having to do is feel the crack to kind of gauge the size. He reaches down onto his harness, feels the piece on his harness, pulls that piece, puts it in the rock, and then he has to essentially inspect it by feeling it to make sure it's a good piece.
Text reads, 20 miles outside of Laramie, Wyoming, August 2023.
So yeah, what we've got going on right now is Trevor's getting geared up. We're gonna get him on a top rope. We're gonna pull this rope through. So he's gonna be tied into this guy, just mock leading, clipping this up, making sure the gear placements are looking good. We're not getting any like tangle in the rope. So we're gonna have him top rope on one of the other ropes that we've already got up. He's gonna be trailing this guy, clipping through, and once he gets a lap or two on Mac lead and thinks he's cozy and comfortable and gear looks good, pulling the training wheels off.
When Trevor's up there on lead, it is going to be him in the gear.
It fits you.
And, falls do happen, but climbing is inherently dangerous. So to mitigate that risk, we really want to make sure the gear he's putting is solid, so we can do that in kind of a controlled environment.
Yeah, so a mock lead is when you are on top rope, so you have the protection of the top rope, but you're placing gear and then you're clipping a trailing line through the gear that you're placing. So it's a really good, safe way to practice gear placements. It's a good way to practice leading rather than just going straight to the sharp edge where falls have some pretty serious consequences. This allows you to just kind of get really comfortable with the gear placements, with the route itself, and then once you feel that comfort, then we take the top rope out, and then it's live leading. How are you feeling, man?
I'm really stoked. Just it's a lot about breathing.
Trevor looks up at the wall.
I did my first sport lead in October of last year, and it's just a matter of just breathing and keeping calm.
Trevor climbs during his second mock lead. He jams one hand into the crack and checks the rope with his other.
We're just fighting all these ropes.
kind of be fighting.
The top rope is interfering with Trevor's feet.
Okay.
Jam your feet. I don't think you're gonna have to worry about impinging the rope if you jam in. Watch that black rope.
Trying.
Trevor places a red cam, struggling some with the
I
top rope
just got
still in his way.
tired all of a sudden because of fighting that other rope. Oh man. Don't have good feet. There we go. Yeah, that's just not good feet. Ah, Christ.
Take that rest. Take that rest.
But my hands are kind of getting tired. Oh man.
You can go. Yeah, take your hand out, drop it, breathe, shake it out.
I don't know.
Working
I just
his
felt
hands
like
in and out of the crack, Trevor tries to find a stable position.
Don't stress.
Trevor is slumped and hanging on the rope while resting, looking down and breathing hard.
Why we're doing the mock leads. Just to get this dialed in. There you go. Here into the big
Climbing again,
There we go.
he jams the crack and pulls himself into a body-sized pod in the rock that marks the best rest on the route.
Obviously that one didn't feel quite as secure as
No.
the first one.
Back on the ground, he unties his rope. Tension hangs as he breathes heavy. As he unties, he looks around. He appears frustrated but determined.
Yeah, just
Yeah, I'll just try to deal with it more.
yeah,
and
it's
just-
part of
let's-
part of the process is just dealing with it. But
regroup.
trying to maintain your breathing, like staying calm.
I'm feeling pretty okay. I mean, I just
Trevor sits in front of a tree.
I need a little bit more work before I'm ready to go on the do it, go live, go fire it up. One more time, maybe should do it. Like one more, just confident time.
The camera slowly pans across the wall, showing nearly the entire crack. Ropes hang and the sun peeks over the edge of the cliff above.
Right
So
before the anchor.
Trevor ties in
get
once
to the top
more
of
as
the
Sam
make
looks
sure
up
you
at the
put
climb.
trailing line to the anchor.
Yep.
Mock that.
Mock
I want you to
that
mock
too.
that motion as well. Once we feel good on that, go live. It's already clipped. Yep. You got one big step with your right foot up on the log. There.
Sam guides Trevor to a step across a log at the base of the route.
Rock there.
Okay.
Crack is right there.
There. Okay.
Transition on. Nice and slow.
Dude.
After getting established in the crack, the camera pans upward slowly.
Zero doubts for that. It's just a matter of practicing some gear.
Yes, sir.
I like it so far. Bring up that really good foot right.
Trevor confidently jams his hand and feet as he climbs past a red cam. He slots his hand into a crack a few times in different positions to find the most secure jam before moving up again. He stands in the rock pod rest and pulls a cam off his harness as sunlight bursts from the top of the cliff overhead. Text reads, "The sharp end." Trevor ties into the lead
blast
rope
this thing
only
on your
while
muffler,
preparing
so
for his lead.
You super good. You know the climbing's in your ability. You know the gear. You know your rests. Just be smart. You're ready for it.
Yep.
Yep. All right, dude.
He steps off the log and starts into the climb with a green cam at his waist. He places a red cam and jams a solid foot into the crack. Flipping the carabiner right side up, he clips another red cam, then solidly jams the crack above it.
Super smooth. Couldn't even hear that
What? I got it.
His feet skate and he almost falls. But he catches himself on solid hands and gets resettled into the crack. A yellow cam is clipped overhead. Trevor is climbing strong and with intention as the boom of thunder rolls in the distance from an approaching storm. Jam after jam, he works his way up the crack.
There we go.
He places a blue cam overhead as the crack widens. He adjusts it a few times to make sure it's secure before continuing on. He makes his way through a rock bulge, breathing heavy but moving with confidence. With the anchor visible, Trevor pulls himself onto the top of the final rock bulge. He scans the top of the rock to find the anchor slings and grabs a hold of one. With the anchor in his hands, he pulls up several armloads of rope and makes the clip.
You can tag Sam. And it's raining.
He smiles as he leans back and looks around. He breathes heavily and puts a hand on the top of his head, then touches the rock.
Right as it started raining.
Another distant boom of thunder.
Such good timing, dude.
Woo! I like to make it suspenseful.
The picture fades to black before cutting back to Trevor at his
I
home
want
wall.
people to take away from this that even if you have a barrier, you can give something to a team, and you can actually contribute something that might be very beneficial, whether it be stoke or whether it be music or laughter. There's always some light in something, in someone that can give something.
End credits. Directed and produced by Marshall Cody. In partnership with Paradox Sports. Lead cinematographer Marshall Cody. Secondary camera Ian Fitzhugh. With special thanks to Trevor, Sam, Ian, Dave, Brittany, and all of the Paradox Sports participants, guides, and volunteers who helped make this film happen. Black screen,